procedural thing for us, so if do we add like the report of this, could we add that into this?
Meaning how many zoning applications you got this month, or
Yeah,
what?
monthly report.
Yeah, so I'm sure it would already fit under something if you were looking for that. A planning and zoning commission, there is a report for that, so it would fall under their report.
So is there a way could we add that in here in the ordinance? That a monthly report be submitted to,
That's procedural, it's typically not ordinance.
the ordinance is a procedure, is a city.
Yeah, I would have to review the ordinance to see where it would go within the ordinance. I mean, this was very specific, it's actually two separate ordinances, one is your subdivision code, one is your zoning code, and this is not going into the code itself. The way your code reads is it says that your zoning officer will have fees, I kind of tracked the language here, and that your subdivision code separately says that officer will have fees, a fee schedule in their office to give to people so that they know what the fees are. So they're kind of like floating ordinances that don't actually go in the code, because what's in the code is the fact that your officer is gonna have a fee schedule that's been passed by the city council. So it's kind of a different sort of ordinance.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passed. Item 10, discuss and take action on listing property located at Eccles at University Drive and Clark at Thompson for sale. There are a couple other city properties, but anyway, to potentially assist with either any payments towards sewage debt with PVA and U, add to city tax rolls, and eliminate public works maintenance costs. This is coming forward mostly because it's been costing the city a lot of money. The totals that I've come up with, approximately since the city owned these particular properties, is just over $31,000, and there's no current or future plan to do anything with those properties. And it's been costing with maintenance guys, like you said, in them having to maintain the city property, it's been cutting down on some of the things that some of the residents have shared with us earlier. And this is bringing to council for potential consideration, and that's it. There's no action required. What I want to do is pass out the information I found, and if it be council's desire, we can add it to a subsequent agenda, but this is simply for information because I've seen what having these properties sitting on the roads have done with our public works guys, having to stay on top of them instead of doing something else. Councilman Jones, you had your hand up.
Did Mr. Levitt like something down the speaker on this item?
Are you on there, Mr. Lever, on this item?
No, I'm asking, can I speak on it?
Oh,
I just want to ask a question about it. I mean, I'm not really.
They say you had 3 minutes.
No, only
You
if
have
you
to
requested
sign up
it.
at the beginning.
Only if you requested it.
Well, that wasn't made clear to me. You never did clear that up when you first started?
I didn't do it, council made this vote.
It was at
I
the
didn't
last
vote.
meeting.
No, I'm saying it was never cleared up. It was never cleared up because I asked the city attorney tonight. She said to me that you would speak on it and tell how we were going to do it today, because the last time you spoke about 3 times, okay? And your name, you didn't have a call.
Hold on, Mr. Lever.
See,
Hold
he's
on.
addressing
Hold-
me.
hold
When I
on.
say something,
No,
No.
I'm trying to get it cleared out.
Listen.
This is the point.
We're not gonna have it from either one, okay? Council, what's your pleasure?
I move that we give Mr. Levitt 3 minutes. to speak.
Okay, Mr. Lever, please come forward.
I don't need 3 minutes. I just want to make a statement.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not, I just want to make a statement as related to it, because to me, I mean, you're talking about the university and using the particular University Drive and Clark Thompson for sale. Well, suppose somebody decides to buy it and the sale is more than you sell it for. I mean, to me, you would put it out for public. Suppose it's more. And then once it goes to the university, how much tax money is going to be for?
0.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let me just answer that part of it and agree with you. This wasn't for sale to the university. This was, and I've been asked over and over again, how are we gonna pay the debt we owe the university? Well, we're sitting on assets that are costing us. This is to generate revenue, not necessarily sell it to the university, because the discussion, and again, this is to incite this discussion, because the city's owned some of this land for many years. So whether council decides on something with the university, but right now it's just open market sales, and that's what I've got the comparable sales on. Councilman Rowland.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for putting this on the agenda. I think we do need to make a motion either to table, because it says discuss, or to make an action, excuse me, necessarily not table. It says discuss and take action. But I thought we were going to get some information for us to have a decision in reference to, we're saying that we're doing this to resolve a debt with the university, and we really don't even know how much the debt is for the university and what our strategy is outside of, if we sell this property, does our issue go away? And so, again, this is an option. We've asked you for options. This is one. But I would hope that we are gonna do something to address the overall issue of the problem. That's all I have.
Well, that was discussed earlier. We did have a meeting to work on it, but yeah, this is to generate. Yes, go ahead, Councilman Jones.
I move that we don't, sell the properties that are listed, such as Eccles and University, Clark, and Thompson Street.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that council don't sell the property at Eccles and University Drive and Clark and Thompson. You've heard the motion, ready for the question? Councilman Randall.
So I think you made a good statement when you gave your presentation about how there's never been a discussion about how we could possibly use the property. So I think that's the next step is trying to develop a plan to figure out how the city, for one, how the city owns the property, because that kind of dictates what we can do with the property, and then try to figure out if there's a way that we can turn these properties into revenue builders. And so I definitely appreciate you putting the information together and telling us what these properties are costing the city and these properties that are available to the city. I think the next phase would be trying to figure out, before we talk about selling, but we try to figure out how these properties can be a benefit of the citizens throughout the home, especially the way the market is changing and the way the economic development and growth is coming to the city.
Councilwoman Williams.
I think too, I said that I would have, that report at the next city council meeting, but I will get that report typed up and send it out to council so that they can have a better understanding of what the meeting entailed today. So if this comes up again, then they can kind of make a decision based off of that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 11, discuss and take action on ordinance for house parties. Councilwoman Williams.
Okay, I talked about this at the last city council meeting, and the reason I brought this up is because there's been several occasions when I've been called, I've gone out to Pine Island, and the cars are all the way to the railroad tracks. People are in the middle of the street, they're hanging outside their cars, they have the audacity to park in people's driveways, park on their grass, put beer bottles, trash in their mailboxes. Trash is all up and down Pine Island Road as well as down Hillcroft. The latest one was over here, where Mr. Leverett lived. They had a party over there, right at the house on the corner, and they was blocking the street. A lady was coming home from church, couldn't get to her house. They told her to drive off on the other side. They were in the right of way. They was parking on somebody else's lot. I don't think it's an issue of people having a problem with students having a party, but when you disrespect the people that live in that area where you want to have the party, then that's a whole nother issue. And I think our residents, especially our elderly residents that live in these different areas where they want to have parties, have a right to live there, live in comfort, and they don't mind you partying either. But at the same time, if the music is too loud and people walking down the middle of the road won't get out of the way, then I think that's not fair. And so we have to do something to protect our residents. Not only that, over here at this party, if an ambulance or a fire truck needed to get down that road, they would not have been able to get down there. And so my question to council is, are we gonna do something about it, or are we gonna wait to possibly be sued because somebody's life is in jeopardy because an ambulance or a fire truck can't get down these streets? And that's even over here and in Pine Island. It's an abundance of numbers of people partying, especially in Pine Island. The house can't even hold that many people. So that right there in itself is ridiculous. And so I think the residents who live here, the families who live here, they deserve to have better than that, than to have to be disturbed until 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. They can't even get in and out of Pine Island either, because when I went over there, it took me 2 hours just to get out of the subdivision, to maneuver to get out from over there, and there's just cars everywhere. So that's the reason why I contacted the attorney and I asked, what can we do to make sure that our residents that live in these communities where they wanna have these parties can continue to live there and not have to worry about if a service can get to them or can't get to them, or can they get home. So I asked the council if you read it and vote against it.
Councilman Randall.
So, first off, thank you, Councilwoman Williams, for bringing this issue, but this is the issue that council has already addressed in our ordinance under Chief Solomon, and when it comes to traffic and noise, those are already policeable offenses, right? So, in the event that a car is impeding the natural flow of traffic, we already have an ordinance in place for noise, and we already have an ordinance in place for large gatherings of people outside in the street. So it's just a matter of enforcement, and people who are affected calling the police, and we already
Well,
have.
Zach said that he couldn't find it, so that's why he did this.
Well, we passed it under Chief Solomon. The noise ordinance, the traffic, that's not an ordinance, that's law, right? You don't have to pass the ordinance for traffic. And if you're passing, if you're blocking someone's property, they can call the police and your property will be towed. So we don't.
And your amplification after.
And any amplification, if there's an amplification, correct me if I'm wrong, there's an amplification period, and then there's amplification between, what is it?
50 decibels.
Yeah, but what's the time frame? There's a time frame between 11 and
Like
7. There's an amplification for that as well.
Okay, so none of the officers that work now must know that, because when I got the police officer to go over there, he was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?
Yeah, Councilman Rowland.
So again, on this issue, I think we have, part of it is just enforcement. But we also, I think this also brings a conversation on how do we have two, age groups of constituents, and we need to, again, try to work together to see how do we enforce things that are currently there, but not over police, right? Because again, many people jump up about Sandra Bland and many other things, but they're the same people who help put these things in place, and so I think this brings an opportunity for us to have a dialogue and discussion. Many things that you addressed already are current ordinances and law in our community. And if, again, people are disrespected on their own community, they can call the police and they can be towed. So again, Mr. Mayor, I move that we,
Just before we put them, I just want to make sure that we're clear that people have house parties in Prairie that are orderly and civilized all the time. And so, there's a percentage that choose to do it in an appropriate manner. But I was dropping some of my players home a couple weeks ago, and there was a house party, and it was as quiet as a church. Like, if I didn't see the cars, I wouldn't have known it was, people were walking in, but it was quiet. It wasn't people standing out in the street. So I mean, let's be clear that there are people here who do things in an orderly manner. And so I think, as Councilman Rowland said, the issue that we're having is a percentage, and that's just a matter of enforcing it and making sure that, we have great turnover in our police department. It's just a matter of making sure they're abreast to what we have in place. And then some of it's just regular state law.
If I might just point out the difference in this and what you have in effect right now. is this takes what you have in effect right now, and it says that if any of these state or local offenses are happening, then the person who is holding the party can be held responsible. And that what happens is if you have an absentee landlord, then you can post it, you can send notice to the landlord, and if it happens again, then the owner of the property can be held responsible. Because it's not so much, one person parking badly and they get a parking ticket. It's more the concept of somebody who's holding the party not being responsible. And, I'm neither for or against it, I'm just telling you the difference in there is nothing new in here. It's only things that are already in your current ordinances. It's just who is held responsible and when, so
So
that's the
right now, no
difference.
one is held responsible.
For the party itself, they could be if it's noise, but not for parking. If they're obstructing the roadway, the owner of who's holding the party isn't gonna have that. It just depends on the circumstances as to who's held responsible.
It should be the owner of the car. I think this ordinance is saying it's the owner, it should be the owner of the house party. Right, and
If
so-
the road is blocked to where, a fire truck can't get through or an ambulance can't get through because of the quantity, it puts it on the person holding the party. So it's just a little bit, a different tool to assist the officers if they, are having,
Councilman Rowland, you were about to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we.
Item 11, right?
Citizen comment.
I move to allow Mr. Perry to have his 3 minutes.
Thank you.
It's been properly moved and seconded, all in favor?
I appreciate you recognizing me, there, Councilman, because you guys gotta remember, these are students that you're dealing with, and they're part of the community, and a lot of them is the ones that got y'all where y'all are.
Yes, that's true.
So when you make the decision that you make sure that you're gonna be here the next term. Because you're gonna create a problem that you don't need.
Yep.
You need to help these people. Get a spot and make them pay for parking and tell them to party. Come to some kind of agreement to, where they don't have to go to a house party, because if it wasn't for them, y'all wouldn't be here, I guarantee you. And y'all would lose that vote.
I want my 3 minutes.
I move, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, hold on, you got somebody else who wants 3 minutes?
Got another comment?
3 minutes.
No. All in favor, say aye.
You gotta get a second, I second it though.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And second. Let's have it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, regarding the house parties, does the owner of the property take care of the cleaning up too? Because when they have these house parties, then all up and down the street, there's trash. So why does the resident who's there, the tax-paying resident, why is it their responsibility to get out there and clean up after a house party? Now, we had house parties growing up here. We didn't park all in the street. We didn't block emergency vehicles. We were not rude and disrespectful. So, when keeping this ordinance, who's going to take care of the cleaning up?
The person lives there.
That wasn't addressed in that ordinance.
Councilman Rowland.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we take no action on ordinance for house parties.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that council take no ordinance on item number 10, house parties. All those in, well, no, item number 11,
No action.
no action. All those in favor say aye.
Alright.
Unready?
The only reason why I chose to take no action is because we have to come up with a contingency plan for our students to be able to party. So we can come to some formal lines of agreements for them to have a civilized party.
Because most of it's already been addressed.
Yeah, my unreadiness is not that. The unreadiness is that.
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye. Ayes have it. Item 12, discuss and take action on last 2 months of project activity reports from Bureau Veritas. Councilman Jones?
Item number 12, I think, the citizen have some
Do we have a citizen that wish to speak to item 12 on the cards?
I think they left.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, Councilman Jones.
as we see, some of the reports, that we have still come as failed, and I guess I would like to have had Bill Veritas here to actually speak upon this process, to know if our people in the front office have been trained, for the process in which they told us that they was gonna help us put in place through the computer and all those different things, so. I guess I would move to have Bill Veritas, speak upon their reports in the last 2 months of project activity, within the city.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Bureau Veritas be requested to speak on the last 2 months of their project activity in the city. You've heard the motion, ready for the question? Councilman Wallace?
So I know when they talked about Bureau Veritas, and getting the front office, trained for it, did they say that Bureau Veritas would come to them, or would they have to, what was the process of getting trained?
Bureau Veritas has been trained in here.
So they come here and train. So have they been trained?
They've been training them. I don't know if the process is over or not, but they've been here and I've seen them up there with the folks teaching them how to use the program. Councilman?
So as a development officer, or the zoning officer, or all the titles you hold, in this process, there are 2 things. One, we ask that for 2 months, and I only show 1 month of data and information. Is there a reason? And then it's, so,
I've given them any month, so wherever you got the 1 month from, I didn't have anything in here to do with this. This was not my item, and Bureau Veritas, with what they do, council voted to pay them in excess of $5,000 a month.
yes.
So I'm not involved in this. You asked for this to be on the agenda, it's on the agenda.
Mr.
I don't
Mayor.
know who fulfilled what you're looking at.
Mr. Mayor, but that's the problem. The problem is you are, all these titles, chief administrator, the zoning officer, development officer, we're simply asking for the 2 months report that you should have, you should receive, or you should have requested when you see that we needed this on the agenda.
And
So-
why, wait a minute, hold on. Why didn't you, city council has the authority to go to anyone that the city pays and request copies of whatever information? Bureau Veritas is on the payroll and you voted for that. So if you want it, you can send Ms. Rogers or Mr. Havern, an email. But what I don't want to do, and I don't want to mislead you or the public, with all the things that you want, that's fine. You want information, you are empowered to go to the source, which some of you have done. So all you have to do is ask for it, and it's available. If you wanted something from Trilogy, there's Mr. Underwood. The folks on your payroll, on one hand, you say we're equally elected, on the other hand, you want me to gather every document that you want? That's not realistic.
The agenda item asks for 2 months, and we only have 30 days worth of information, so that's the first thing. And then my second point
Yeah.
is that in the, all these happens to be the failed reports, happen to be Panther Hill. And so are you still signing COs or moving that process forward in reference to things that are happening over there?
You directed Bureau Veritas to handle that, and those are their reports, so you're questioning the wrong person.
Well, who?
When you hired Bureau Veritas to do that,
Yes,
I backed out.
yes.
You still asked me for that
Right.
stuff, but you're paying those folks $5,000 a month.
They did do the inspections. I'm asking you, do you still issue the CO? So
To the zoning office.
to the zone, you issue the COs, you sign off on the temporary COs and the COs. And if you got, all these reports are from Panther Hill, and the 6 failed inspections are from Panther Hill.
I haven't signed anything, so the answer to your question is no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Wallace, I'm sorry. You're next.
I just wanted to speak on one thing you said, mentioned earlier, that whenever any information that we want can be given to us, but we've had countless moments in the past where I reached out to someone, Bill Veritas, or another council member reached out to someone else, and they specifically said that they weren't going to give information unless it's through the mayor.
Then send me an email requesting it, I'll forward it to them and you'll get it. I received nothing on this, somebody asked to put it on the agenda. I'm not involved in that.
It just has happened that we have asked, we didn't get it, so we asked you.
Send the
to get it,
email.
And we never got it.
Send the
We're just-
email.
I'm saying what has happened in the past.
Well, and I'm saying what has not happened in the past, send the email requesting it. I can't deal with conversation. Yes, sir.
But, Mr. Mayor, it is that when we come, then if you do, they oversee the day-to-day operations that if a council member does ask that it be brought back, I mean, because you just separated the two saying that the council asked for it and that you didn't. Well, you've been the mayor of the city, we as one, we asked to see these reports so that way we could go ahead and move forward to have a discussion and dialogue based upon the information in which we receive. And it has, I mean, I hope that is the process going forward, that if we do run into complications when asking, since we all are elected equally, and we ask for certain things to be presented towards us, that once we send an email to you, if they say no, only do request of the mayor, that we get that documentation and information, because that hasn't been a practice so far. But I'm glad to hear that that would be a process moving forward.
No problem. Now, which one of you asked Ms. Cortez for this information? Because a few items ago, we went through the fact that Ms. Cortez and them are being trained on it, and you're dealing with Bureau Veritas when the reports are right in the computer at the front office that you,
But as we've been told, the reports in the computer are as of like the last minute. The reports in which we've been receiving, and we keep coming and running into the confusion, or where the confusion lies, is that we received reports from months ago prior to before we approved for Bureau Veritas to be our building official. So that's where it comes. I put it on the agenda. I asked, well, actually, I want to say Councilman Brown asked for it to be put on the agenda. We asked to be put on the agenda with the concept that we're gonna actually be able to ask Bureau Veritas, what's the progress, what have they done the last 2 months, what have they seen, and how can we move forward with the building official?
well, this simply says discuss and take action on last 2 months of project activity reports from Bureau Veritas. There's no request to have them here. But all I'm saying is, on Bureau Veritas reports, guys, ask Ms. Cortez. She's not gonna tell you no. Yes, ma'am. If you got some information, Ms. Bynum.
Yes, I
Share
work
it
with
with
Ms.
us.
Cortez, and I did send out an email because Ms. Rogers said you have to be more specific. You're asking for 2 months of project activity reports. Project activity reports come in different forms on the system, so you have to be more specific. I sent the email asking for more specifics so that I could give Ms. Cortez. I had Ms. Cortez print this out without that. You just asked for activity reports. Ms. Rogers said, well, what type of activity reports? I said inspection report, because it just says 2 months of project activities. But if you want a specific address, you can have that report.
Okay, so by the motion that's already been moved in second, by requesting them to come, and I can only assume the direction in which we want to go. We want to basically have a discussion with what is the work in which they have done the last 2 months of the city, for us to see how a building official has either helped us or not been so helpful to us. So that way, within our budget, us going forward, us looking at our neighboring cities, they have building officials as well, and us going forward, we would like to have our own, so we would like to know, are the people in the front office trained? Did they go through the process? Or why aren't we receiving the reports that as of last second rather than last month? Why is it saying failed? What do the process that you go through? So that's why I'm asking that a representative come.
It would
from their
be
in that.
It would be easier because the way that Ms. Rogers explained it to me, it's put into the system by address. So when they assumed what you wanted, they assumed, Panther Hill. They didn't know because the email didn't come back to me stating what you wanted. It goes in by address, and in order to pull up activity report, they would have to put in every address that Bureau Veritas went on and inspected, which would have been days and hours.
But that's the, we wanna know what have we spent $5,000 for the last 2 months to be receiving, to know the proper work that they've been putting in. And I don't mind after this meeting sitting there with you to go after with the request in which we would like for a representative to come and stand in front of us so that way we can be able to ask those questions.
Sounds good. So you good with Mr.?
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye. Motion passed. Item 13, discuss and take action on application for community engagement board. Councilman Wallace.
Yeah, I sent a revised ordinance to Attorney Griffin, and so she has to look over to review it. So I'm just gonna ask to take it off the agenda on one side for sure, that the ordinance is revised in the way that I wanted to, and I'm just gonna ask to put it back on the agenda.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
So do you want to move that to the next meeting?
No, I wanna,
You'll bring it back when it's ready.
yeah,
That's
I'll send
okay.
you one.
Item 14, discuss and take action on 30-day written reports from Trilogy Engineering, Building Inspector Bureau Veritas, and USW review document, and USW review documents for compliance on Panther Hill Apartments, the Gates of Purview, and Campus Edge Apartments. Councilman Rowland.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Mhm.
So we, City Council have been patiently waiting for this information. It has been 30 days and we are waiting for the report. Mr. Mayor, have you sent the request to USW, Trilogy, and Bureau Veritas in reference to compiling this 30-day report that council approved?
When I read this, in answer to the question, no, but let me tell you why. When I read this, it says, discuss and take action on 30-day written reports from, as though you already have them. You're taking action on reports you already have. You're not requesting reports. This is not written very well.
But Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I mean.
Trilogy Engineering, Mr. Underwood,
Yes, sir.
you're aware of this, but
Yes, sir.
have you been here 30 days?
Yes, he had. Actually, his first day on the job, this was the first project in which we had requested for him and USW to do. So, Mr. Mayor, I know that.
Okay, what did y'all request for him to do? Because I want to hear it, because he may not know.
We had a citizen who's, put this on our request.
Oh, yes, ma'am, come on up, if you're on there, I'm sorry, we need to have you speak before we do, my apologies.
Okay, so I'm under the impression that you all don't have a report?
Yes.
Is that correct?
A
Can you answer
report
me?
on what?
A report on the buildings being structurally sound, safe to live in?
And that's not what's asked for in this item, so no,
Okay,
you're right.
Mr. Mayor, not last meeting, but the meeting prior to last, it was Councilman Jones who suggested